Previously on the chat room with Ig and Tosin.
I wonder what, especially if you both of the toxic person and the person being affected, if they're both Christians, and he says he's giving his angels charge over you. So what does the angels of the other person? Do they look at the other person and say, better warn your word, otherwise?
Hello everyone and welcome to the chat room with Ig and Tosin. Hope you've been doing very well. Hope your day is going great. You're welcome and we're excited to have you here with us today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. You're still here. We're happy.
Of course they are. They're having fun.
We're doing something right.
It's good to have you. It's good to have you. We have a good one for you today. We're talking about first impressions and misconceptions, right?
Quite a mouthful.
It is a mouthful, right? First impressions and misconceptions. So we're talking about events, people, when you meet them the first time, what do you always think? First impression is your initial perception of a person or a thing, or a place. It could be a place as well.
Or an encounter.
Yeah. And many people always say first impressions last longest. What do you think, Tosin?
Yeah, I would say, and I think first impressions can be based on our own bias.
Definitely. Yes. Because
it might not just be what it seems like, but you just maybe based on your internal bias and just formed an opinion about something, somebody, or an encounter. Yeah,
and people do that a lot. I know it's we can't help it, because when you meet someone, the first thing is your perception of that person, but it could also be a misconception. Based on Tosin, you're talking about bias, right? About your understanding. Is, for example, they say don't judge a book by its cover.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Because that's exactly what it is. Because you may be judging a person based on what you're seeing at that point in time, at that moment, and that may not be the person's best time.
Yeah. So, okay, like an example. Okay, can I ask a question? What was your first impression of me? Be nice.
My first impression of you is that you're very quiet.
My God. I am quiet.
Until I got to know you even more. Yes, you're quiet.
I think
what do you think, everyone? I mean, you've been watching this now for a few episodes.
Well, I guess it's more of the people I'm around. Because another friend made the same statement, and he actually said, Tosin, when you're around people you really don't know, or you're not is comfortable with, but not close to. Yeah. You're just there and you're just smiling. You might interject maybe one or two sentences.
Yeah, that's it.
There. And you just smile and like nod your head. Okay. But when you're now with people
but yes, you're a quiet person though. So my
I am
you're naturally quiet. Yes.
I'm the kind of person I don't feel the need to talk because of everywhere is quiet. I don't feel as I need to fill the air with words. I'm more of a person that if I go somewhere I don't know people, I observe more.
Yes.
And I try and create first impressions of people. So I'm not internally judging people, but I just say.
But you just mentioned that now you create first impressions. So that means first impressions can be created because, for example, if you're in the dating scene now, and people always want to put their best foot forward. Exactly. You're meeting a girl, you're meeting someone else for the first time. That may not be you, and you create the first impression, right? So what was your first impression of me? Very
So you were
interesting.
too nice.
What?
You were very nice.
Can you
And
say that again?
being nice to a fault.
Oh,
because
really?
I became very suspect. I was like, why is this girl just being nice? Especially to me. Very sus. Like, okay, what does she want? But then as time went on, I realized, okay, we actually like the same things. We had the same kind of sense of humor.
Yes.
And that was when we became friends.
Common. Yeah.
Yeah, because of
for years, 17.
Yeah, 7. Our friendship is almost an adult. Wow.
Good one.
Yeah. And I would think I've made like first impressions, and most of the time, like let's say you meet somebody, the person was upset about something.
Yeah.
And maybe raise their voice. And
then the person, right?
And all of a sudden you think this person, your first impression might be, oh, okay, this person is full of anger, cannot control their anger. Yeah. But maybe you just met that person on a not so nice day.
Exactly. It might not be a very nice day for the person. I read about the story of a lady who got married, right? And she's in church, she's a Christian, and the guy is a Christian, perfect guy, and everything. And on the day of the wedding, after the marriage, church and everything, she finds out that the guy is not even a Christian. He was just going to church because he wanted a good Christian girl.
Now I have a lot of questions about that one, because where was the Holy Spirit? There's a lot of, she must have ignored a lot of things. That one is a special case because
but I'm talking about like the first impression. Some people we're talking about creating a first impression. Yes, you can create a first impression if you're going for a job interview, for example. That is a way to create a first impression. But then it's two ways, isn't it? Because there's also misconceptions that, like we're talking about, meeting someone for the first time. And there's some people that just immediately are judgmental. They start judging based on what they can see or or their own bias or their own understanding of a person, and it's not always right because, like we said, it might not be the person's best day. There are other factors to it.
Or it could be your own internal bias. Like somebody told me, a misconception I've had concerning myself is I'm a snob and I'm quite stuck up.
Well, you see, but you're just quiet.
And when I was, one person said it, I was like, the first I was quite miffed. And like, first of all, do you know what a snob is?
Yeah.
And the way I said it, and they allowed, pardon?
They told you to your face.
Yeah, they told me to my face, 2 people. And I was like, I'm stuck up. I'm like, do you really know the dictionary meaning? Which did not help matters. And then I was just like, but I'm not. I'm a naturally reserved person. I'm not if I go somewhere, I don't know people. I'm not the kind of person that will walk up to people and like, introduce myself. I'll just sit in a quiet corner, maybe finding someone.
Because stuck-up people also do the same thing. Like
they
feel they're better than other people.
But I am. Yeah, I know. And I went to whinge to the Holy Spirit. I'm telling you, it's good whinging to him. And he now said, but do you see where they are coming from?
Exactly.
Yeah, because that was exactly what he said. He said, do you see where they are coming from? You enter a place, you stay in one corner, you don't say a word.
But that's also other people's misconception, isn't
it? Yeah, it is their own internal bias. And
you don't have to think that way. If I go into a place and I see someone my first thought is not going to be like the person she's stuck up or she's a snob. My first thought would probably be, I don't know, maybe the person's uncomfortable or the person you can't, so I want my first thought wouldn't be this person is a snob. So I think it also has to do with
it's their own internal bias. And that time, and I just told the person that it's a two-way street. You can walk up to me and say hello. Yes. Like, have you ever walked up to me and said hello? And I looked at you up and down.
Now that is a snob.
I said it's a two-way street. You cannot just sit there and judge me based on what? Me, I enter a place, I just sit in a corner. And you now just say, God, this girl is a snob. She's a stuck up. Why? Because she's not walking up to me to say hello. And I just thought, well, you could walk up to me and say hello.
Yes.
Meaning that, are you projecting your own, I don't want to say insecurities on me? Which is another way of looking at it, because a lot of times people project their own insecurities on other people.
On other people, yes.
And then seeing those people through those eyes, and then now have a first impression, and most of the time a misconception about people. Yeah.
I read about something one time. Someone, he wrote an article, and he got me thinking. He says, what are you making things mean? You know, he gave you an instance of a marriage, for example. Says, for example, your spouse comes in and he drops his maybe he takes off his shoes on in the sitting room, drops his jacket in the sitting room, and you're thinking, oh my God, he's taking advantage of me cleaning up after him. But he may just have had a very bad day, you know. So things happen, but what do you make them mean? You know, and you can go down the rabbit hole. Oh, he's taking advantage of me. I don't like this. He's done this before. And you keep going until you get angry or pained or depressed or something. You know, but what are you making things mean? When an event happens, when you meet someone could just say something to you, but you could internalize it and start take meanings to it. You know,
so misinterpret it. Or let's say let's say in a work setting, or maybe you're sitting somewhere. I'm sure it happens to a lot of people. Yes, does this thing happen to you? You're looking, but you're not really, you're staring at something, but you're not really looking at that thing. Your mind is somewhere else.
Yes.
Has it happened to you? And somebody passed by you and say hello. But even though you're staring, you're not there.
You're not there.
And the person automatically just said, you see, I said it. Yes. Every time I say hello, she never answers. Why? She's a snob. This is evidence 107 of why she's a snob. And meanwhile, the person was in la la land.
Attention, yes. You can't just form an opinion or make a judgment about someone else based on a few things until you know the person. If you don't know the person, you can't.
That is it. Yeah.
Yeah, because you get to know people. If you don't know them, you can't form an opinion and say, oh, this person is like this, or this person is that way.
Yeah. Like I've had misconceptions. I think I told you about one. I've had misconceptions about people because of my first few interactions. We're not the best. So even now, even though every lot of people say this person is a sweetheart, this person is this, but whenever I see the person, I tense up. And it's subconsciously, where everybody was like, no, this person is a real sweetheart. But based on a few interactions I have had. So this is me saying it. So it's not as though, I've had misconceptions about a lot of people, or let me not say a lot of people. But as I've gotten to know them, all those biases kind of like fell away. Like, gosh, this person is not really like this. Yeah. It is just me, maybe based on a few interactions, and I just thought, okay, this person, you put that person in a box.
Yes.
And I think and they just close the lid and just say this person is this, which is unfair.
It's unfair
because you need to open that box, not even put a box, and just say, okay, this is human beings. I would say people are complex. They are different. I cannot just say, okay, like to some people, I'm very quiet. To some people, I'm loud. To some people, I'm just in between.
You're not loud.
To somebody, when you tell him I'm quiet, you say no. The Tosin I know, but this was years ago. We jump on tables and dance. That was years and years ago. So when people say, oh, Tosin is quiet, he cannot fathom it. He's based in his own opinion about me on things. It seems.
Also, you know, I mean, we're talking about complicated, people are complicated. If people grow as well. I watched a movie recently, and the lady was asking, how do I she was giving an advice to a younger person and said, when you're getting married to this man, make sure you say I do to all of them. And the girl was like, to all of them? And she said, yes, to all of them. He said, because this guy is going to be different at different times. You're going to have different versions of the same man. So when you are at the altar, you better say I do. I know you're saying I do to all of them. So people have layers. So
because if you think about it, some people are not morning people. In the morning, they're very grouchy. Some people are night owls. In the night, that's where they come out. That's where everything starts. So you might meet the person first thing in the morning, and the person is very grouchy. And you're like, oh, this person is a miserable person. But you meet them in the night or in the afternoon, like, oh gosh, what happened?
Completely different, yes.
Completely different. So I just guess it's a mix of, I guess it's more of our own internal bias as well. Because you might say, okay, I've met somebody like this, or you can base the person, you can form your opinion on the person based on a previous encounter you had with somebody totally different.
Yes,
you now say,
that's a factor as well.
This person is like this. And the person might just be a total opposite.
The person, many times, more often, the person is totally opposite.
Yeah, like there's somebody that has, okay, I'll give an example. I won't mention. The person has, I know a few people, their faces are stern. Naturally, their resting face is very stern. But these people are very playful. So you can sometimes, your first impression, maybe you looked at the person and the person is just there, sitting like, gosh, this person is very stern.
Yeah.
Then you see the person playing around and you kind of like cannot okay, this is weird. So which is based on my own internal bias, like saying, oh, everybody who looks like this is stern. But the person might just be a very playful person. So I think I would say first impressions and misconceptions, gosh, it's a mouthful. Try saying it 10 times in a row. First impression, misconception, yeah, okay. Yeah, I just feel it's a lot of times can be based on our own internal bias.
Yeah.
It could be a lot of circumstances, factors. And then another thing is, can have a first impression about somebody that the person is nice. Meanwhile, the person is very nasty.
Yes. So
you put up a front, like you said.
Yeah, some people put up a front because you can't base your relationship until you get to know someone. And you hear this all the time. People are like, I didn't know you were like this until I knew you. And so I think you, instead of making a first impression, I mean, it's a natural thing to form a first impression about a person, but go further and get to know the person better, get to know the person more. And you'd be surprised what you can find under the first impression. Yeah,
you'll be surprised you find a gem or you find a rock. So thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a very light, because some episodes we've had have been quite heavy. So before people be asking us questions, will hurt you. So
this can be taken that way as well.
Pardon?
This can be taken that way as well.
Yeah, I guess, I think so. But we just want to say thank you. Let us know your thoughts, your comments. Have you had first impressions of people that were wrong at the end? Have you had misconceptions about people? Have you had misconceptions about me? Have you had misconceptions about IG? Let us know your thoughts, your comments. I would like to say thank you so much for joining us on this episode. And from me, I would like to say have a good day, a wonderful week, and a wonderful life. And from IG.
Yeah, like, follow, share, tell people about us, about the chat room, and then we will see you next time.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Next time on the chat room with Ig and Tosin.
It depends on people's individuality and personalities, because some people are quite hot-tempered, some are quite soft-spoken, and some are quite laid back. And I mean, there's some people that don't like confrontation, and there are others that like You.